Imagine this, you're working 60-hour weeks, sacrificing weekends, pouring your heart and soul into a job, only to be fired because your boss secretly hates smokers. Well, that happened to me. But here's the twist, for months later, that same boss was fired in disgrace after blowing the university's budget by over 10 times. And the best part? I walked away with a year's salary in my pocket. Without lifting a finger. If you've ever had a boss who underestimated you, mistreated you, or tried to break you down, then you'll love this story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around, because this is one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll hear today. Setup, struggles and injustice. This happened back in the early 2010s, when YouTube was still young and universities were just starting to realize that video could help with branding. I got hired as a content creator. The pay about $2,200 a month. Not glamorous, but I was excited. On my second day, my manager handed me my KPI 85 videos in 52 weeks. And not just simple vlogs, these were 3 to 10 minute professional productions. She expected me to script, cast talent, shoot, edit, mix music, and produce everything alone. Taught to make things worse, their equipment was ancient. Their cameras could barely record in 720p. Their computers lagged at the slightest effect. So, I had to use my own gear and software. When I told my manager this was insane, she just smiled and said, "Don't worry, if the videos are good, I won't care about the quantity." So, I pushed through. At first, she was nice enough. But then, she found out I smoked. That was it overnight. Her attitude flipped. Suddenly, I was a problem. She nitpicked everything. Complained I smelled like cigarettes after breaks. Scolded me for being 5 to 10 minutes late, even though I stayed hours of unpaid overtime. Said I was unreachable. During lunch, it felt like she was building a case against me. And honestly, I just wanted to do the work, so I kept my head down and endured it. 5 months later, I was summoned to the director's office. My stomach dropped as soon as I saw my manager sitting there with this smug, fake disappointed look on her face. The director said she was disappointed because I had only produced 30 videos, instead of 42 by that point in the year. I tried to explain. I've been working 6 days a week, over 60 hours, and the videos I finished are pulling the highest views your YouTube channel has ever had. I'm literally doing the work of an entire team by myself. I even reminded them that my manager told me quality was more important than quantity. But the director cut me off. She said the KPI was the KPI 85 videos in a year. And since I was behind schedule, she thought it was best to cut the cord early. I asked, "So, how are you going to meet the KPI if you fire me?" That's when my manager smirked and said, "We'll hire a professional production house." The director looked at her oddly, but nodded in agreement. And that's when it hit me. A light bulb moment. You see, part of my job was keeping a database of production houses we might use for special shoots. And guess who had no industry contacts? My manager. So before leaving, I went into the database and sabotaged it. I changed every phone number and email address except for one company. That one, a production house where a friend of mine worked as a junior director. I called him up, told him my plan, and within 2 days, they were invited to pitch. I gave him the ultimate inside advantage. I coached him on exactly what to say, how to pitch, what kind of content to highlight. In return, his company agreed to pay me a 15% finder's fee. To them, this was a massive 6-month contract worth high 6 figures. To me, it was justice served. On a golden platter. Sure enough, my friend's production house walked in and nailed the pitch. They seemed like the perfect fit. They understood the university's style, their brand, their themes. The director and my manager were blown away. They signed them on the spot. But here's the kicker: production houses aren't cheap. Each video cost double or even triple my monthly salary. But with a full team, producers, editors, sound engineers, assistants, they cranked out 50 videos in just 4 months. Meanwhile, I sat back, collected my 15% fee, and pocketed the equivalent of 15 months of salary. Enough to fund a Bali vacation and later enroll in film school overseas. I thought that was the end of it. Sweet revenge, right? Wrong. It got even sweeter. One day, while I was relaxing in Bali, I got a call from a former colleague, the same one who warned me about my manager's hatred of smokers. She told me my manager had been fired, and not just that the director had been chewed out by the chancellor. Here's why. The entire video project originally had a budget of about 1.5 years of my salary. But thanks to my manager's desperate need to prove herself, she blew that budget by more than 10 times. She had approved every invoice, every inflated cost, without higher approval. The chancellor was furious, and my manager, out of a job. I couldn't help but laugh. The woman who tried to destroy me had destroyed herself, so in the end, my friend got promoted to a full director in his production house. I walked away with more than 1 year's salary, free to chase my dreams, and my toxic ex-manager. She lost her job, her reputation, and her power. That's not just karma. That's poetic justice. You know, sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's not shouting matches or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes the best revenge is letting arrogance dig its own grave on, giving karma a little push in the right direction. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and drop a comment. What's the most satisfying workplace revenge you've ever seen? And of course, subscribe for more stories like this, because trust me, we're just getting started.